Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir! Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the X Block Podcast, episode 22. I'm Jaren, and I'm here with Caleb.
Heyo.
And this is the world's #1 Xbox podcast.
Probably, because we're back, Jaren, after a hiatus.
It's true. I was in Vancouver. Now I'm in Toronto, slightly more tanned, and a little bit more depressed that I'm back.
Hell yeah, dude. That's what I like to hear. So I guess for the people listening, they didn't really have any breaks. Like, they got two specials, the first two X Block podcast specials. One was News from the Future, which you probably either loved or hated. There's no telling. It's one of them. But man, that was some crazy news from the year 2050 or whatever the hell that was. And Todd Jr. and Phil Jr. and all those people. And then we had, what was the other one? State of Xbox in 2021. That's right.
Yeah.
And I thought that one was actually pretty good. After we recorded it, Jared and I were like, yeah, dude, that was fucking good, man. Like, we were pretty smart, you know what I mean?
Dude, we nailed that one. I thought we did a good job on that one. I thought we did a good job on the News from the Future, too, though.
Yeah, I agree. It was, like, surprisingly good. You and I were like, well, I was like, is this even going to be, like, possible once we, like, can we actually record this effect? And then it turns out we could. So that was cool. But we're back now. Normal programming, your weekly Xbox news and some other shenanigans.
Yeah, so what have you been playing, Caleb? Because I've been playing nothing.
Yeah,
so.
I know you've been playing jack all, dude. I've been playing a lot, all right, actually. So I don't know if I mentioned it in like our last main episode, but I finished like all the Control DLC, like all the achievements. So I've completed Control now. I'm done with it. Great game. Highly recommend. Since then, though, because everyone knows I was playing Control, I went back to Wolfenstein: The New Order, Jared, and I got all the collectibles in that game. So get hype. I now have 1,000 out of 1,000 in that game. And then I'm like, you know what? It's that time of the month. And you know what I went and played, Jaren? Take a guess.
The Chinese Master Chief Collection?
No, Banjo-Tooie. Close. So yeah, I went to Banjo-Tooie, Jaren. And I played it like as a kid, but never, like, I don't know, got all the achievements. So I went and got all the achievements in Banjo-Tooie. 200 out of 200 gamer score. That game's great. I forgot that Kazooie in that game is basically just you. Like, you come up to someone, like, that game is so well written, dude. You come up to, like, a dude in, like, a harbor, and he's like, oh, my son was taken by these people. And then Kazooie's like, that's a real cool story, don't care. Like, literally, we'll say that. And then they'll be like, can you help my son or whatever? And then Banjo's like, I think we can help your son. And then Kazooie's like, hold on, Banjo, what do you got for us? And then he's like, I could give you this shiny object. And he's like, fine, deal. And you're like, Jesus Christ, Kazooie. And that's literally how Kazooie is. Where like someone dies and I don't know, she's like, well, that was kind of crazy. Didn't really like him anyway. And you're like, oh my God. I thought this was a kid's game. I forgot that it's a little darker. And then I remembered while I was playing that game, if you go to Pterodactyl Land or whatever it's called, there's like these islands shaped like a straight up cock and balls. Just straight up with semen spurting out of them. I'm not even lying. Like, I forgot that they put that in this game. You can look it up online if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's an island that if you look up from above and down at it, it is a penis ejaculating, and it is horrifying. So there's that. Got all those achievements. Played a couple of Sea of Thieves, A Pirate's Life quests with some of the boys. That's pretty cool. A little bit grindy.
Oh yeah, I gotta play that.
Yeah, it's a little like there's some enemies there's like a lot of enemies in some points, and they're a little long at some points. Overall, though, pretty great. Like, real story DLC for the game that is really worthwhile and really fun. So I liked that. And then I went and played the Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, because I didn't get all the collectibles when I played that. So now I have 800 out of 1,000 game score in that game. And there's like some other achievements. The rest of the achievements I have are like some challenge mode for each of the levels. And I'm like, fuck that. I hate score attacks. I hate time attacks. I'm not doing that. So we're just going to stick where that is. Then, dude, I told you I've been playing a lot. Then I started playing some Zombie Army 4, and I caved in, and I bought some of the missions, you know? And I gotta admit, so two things. Number one, it actually is a decent amount of content for, like, the microtransaction, I guess, the missions that they added, you know, to the game. It's actually a decent amount of content, like, in total, for what it's worth, relative to what the game is worth as well. It's, like, it kind of makes sense. But I don't think I'm going to buy the next Zombie Army game based on just me not liking their kind of monetization practices. I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I like Rebellion, but even in the reviews for the game, everyone's like, yo, you're kind of like microtransaction bullshit kind of sucks, you know? And like your DLC plans and rollout and all that, like we kind of hate it. And so I'm probably, that's a different kind of discussion and podcast. Probably not going to buy the next Zombie Army game depending on how they monetize it. And then finally, Jaren, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I re-downloaded the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, no.
I know. And I started another character. Like, I have one. And I started another character. Instead of in the Ebonheart Pact, he's in the Daggerfall Covenant. And he's an orc. And his name is, I think, Orlog or something. And
it's a good orc name.
Yeah, so I started that. I'm barely, like, into it, you know? Like, I'm literally... it took me, I don't know, like, 2 hours to make my character. Like, you know how I am. And so I loaded it up, and I was like, all right, I'm done for now. And I'm gonna try to play through the Daggerfall Covenant like main quest kind of campaign, because there's 3 different like main quest campaigns depending on what faction you join. And so I'm gonna try to do that, and that is finally all I've been playing. So thank you for not falling asleep. I appreciate it.
All right, where are we at?
Do you have any questions about what I'm playing? Shut up.
The Elder Scrolls Online. My issue with that is, I just like can't get into it because of how many times I've tried to get into it.
Yeah.
So I've played the start of the game like 10 times, and I just don't want to play it again now to the point where I would actually be able to commit to playing it.
Well, there's a couple things. You got to try it again. The game has been updated since 2015. Like, the game's a bit different, like any MMO. And like, even in my main character, I had to like spend 3 hours, I shit you not, like 2 or 3 hours putting my skill points back in, because for some reason the game took away all my skill points, like gave them back to me, and I didn't know how my character was built, and like all these, there's a bunch of fucking like deep in-depth bullshit that you have to keep in mind. So it took me like 2.5 hours to respec myself, but the reason they do that is because they add like some kind of metas and some little changes to the skill setup like toward the end with your champion points, and people would complain if they like didn't let you respec to like optimize your character. And so they just do it for free by like giving you all your points back, and it allows you to like respec. Pretty annoying if you don't care, but for me, you know, like that was for other people, I guess that's good. And so yeah, dude, you gotta like restart though. Like, there's not even, I think there may have used to have been one area. I don't know if that's still the case in the beginning, but with 3 different campaigns to choose from in the beginning, it'll probably be, I don't know, it'll be a little different. And it's like the combat's relatively fun. It's an MMO, but I recommend it. I don't know, it's fun. I wanted to play a high fantasy RPG, but I can't go back and get all the achievements in The Witcher 3 yet, because I might as well wait for the next gen upgrades at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, there's like so many games coming out and so many games that I haven't played, that like getting into an MMO, especially where I have like a hard time now with all the podcasts and things, just finishing like one game, let alone doing an MMO. I'll never finish. It'll be the only game I play for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm just gonna roll through the achievements. They're not. I wouldn't even get many achievements for doing it or much gamer score. I'm just doing it because I want to play an MMORPG or a high fantasy RPG, and I don't want to start Dragon Age Origins or Dragon Age 2 or anything. And I don't want to go back to The Witcher because it's not upgraded yet. So I'm just like, fuck it. Elder Scrolls Online. Oh, dude, they have a performance mode now too, so you can play it frame rate boosted. So that's cool. Yeah, it's Series X and S enhanced, and so it's actually at 60 frames now, which it wasn't before, and it's crazy.
And that is the end of the exciting Elder Scrolls edition of the X Block podcast. Now we will move into Outside the Box.
I'm thinking outside the box,
where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. Our first story, Caleb. There's some brand new duty on top of a whole mound.
God, I really don't care about Call of Duty. I don't like it. I mean, I'll talk about it. I'm gonna let you explain it, and then I'm gonna explain to you something. How about that?
All right. And we've known this war has been on for a while, for some reason, between Call of Duty and Halo, who will actually announce when their game is coming out first. It seems like Call of Duty might be going first, because there is a rumored event and announcement that has apparently been leaked, and they're going to reveal Call of Duty Vanguard on August 19th.
Yeah, so for those of you who need a little bit of context, Call of Duty Vanguard, like the name and everything, alleged name, got leaked earlier, I think, this year. And this one is made by Sledgehammer, and it's supposed to be a World War II setting and everything. And this is the game that they like failed to put out in time, right? So Treyarch had to come in and save them and release the game last year. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, this is supposed to be the game that was so trash last year that Activision had to move it a year, and people who have played it are still saying it's not that great, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's still being reported that the game's in rough shape or bad shape or it's not looking good from people who are reportedly in the know. And so, yeah, but apparently Charlie Intel did some digging initially, and there was some info in the back end of Black Ops that leaked some info about the release date or something like that. But then with some new updates, this is from VGC, by the way, from Tom Ivan. They say they seemingly confirmed that Call of Duty Vanguard will be available in 3 forms: Standard Edition, Cross-Gen Bundle, and Ultimate Edition, with some offering early access to an open beta. And they linked to a tweet from RDPG Kelly TV, Jesus. And so there's some like promotional images for Call of Duty Vanguard. Looks like that's the name. It's a Pacific setting, so like, and it looks like it's gonna focus on the campaign's gonna be like this beginning of special ops, but like in World War II and how that kind of worked. So that's, I guess, what the campaign's gonna be about. And yeah, Pacific Theater contains some remastered maps from World at War, which that's pretty cool because those are decent maps. And yeah, you got to go back to something people like, and also the assets are already there in the map. Why do you have to design a new cool map, Jaren, when you already have one designed for you? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe you like, how many times can you put out the same maps in a game? And then the best part is they do remasters of games too, where they then just release the same maps they already had in other games.
Yeah. And this one, by the way, this Treyarch is apparently assisting in development. No shit, because it seems like the game is in rough shape and it's probably not going to be great. And then it also says that reputable leaker Tom Henderson claimed on Wednesday that Activision is planning to reveal Call of Duty Vanguard on August 19th. He also appeared to hint at a November 5 or November 5th release date for the game. And so if you're excited for Call of Duty Vanguard, okay, this is your time. Jaren, do you care at all about Call of Duty Vanguard?
I saw a poll on Twitter where it said, do we think that the multiplayer will be better than Black Ops Cold War, worse than Black Ops Cold War, or who cares, it's going to be the same anyway? I clicked on that one. 81% of people agreed with me.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that's the case, dude. I don't think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be poo-poo. Again, I'm somewhat interested in the campaign, like I usually am. But I think, like I said before, I'm going to skip out on this Call of Duty. And maybe Call of Duty forever, because, or at least till Modern Warfare comes back. Because, and even then, it's like a question. Because, I don't know, Activision sucks. Blizzard sucks. Seemingly Blizzard sucks more than Activision. And that's kind of more where the, like the sexual assault allegations, like the lawsuit kind of stem from. Seems like that's a little more Blizzard's side, but they're the same company now. Anyway, Activision Blizzard can eat my ass. I'm not excited for this Call of Duty. I kind of want to play the campaign, but I'm not. It's not going to make me buy it. And this game may still suck. It probably will suck. So no offense to all the devs out there, but I'm not excited.
Yep, I'm in the exact same boat. Don't give a shit.
I guess I should mention real quick. So the August 19th release date, right? Or the, not release date, but announcement and all that shit. So we already know Phil Spencer kind of hinted that they were waiting on Call of Duty to announce a release date for their game this year before they talk about a Halo Infinite release. And so we can expect, just like I kind of mentioned and like we thought, there should be a Halo Infinite release date probably announced at the end of August, if not beginning of September, which is really late and it should have been way before that. But yeah. So Halo 20th anniversary is November 15th. That's a Monday, though, and Forza comes out November 9th. So it may be like November 16th, or even then they may push it to like the last week of November, first week of December. But that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's kind of how this is relevant to Xbox a bit. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
I'll do you one better. Tuesday, August 24th. Expect a Halo release date announced.
Jaren's calling it. Jaren said it, August 24th, that day?
Yeah, because that's when Xbox's Gamescom event is.
That would be interesting. I mean, I assume, end of August and August 24th, even that same day, makes sense to me.
Yep, and now, moving on to this one will be a little quicker, unless Caleb has a lot to say about it, but Hideo Kojima says he's worried about a future without physical media. And to that I say, I don't care, Kojima, finish a game and stop talking.
Yeah, I put this story in. Jaren didn't really care about it that much, but this is from reported by VGC on August 9th, and he tweeted this out August 5th. And Hideo Kojima said, eventually, even digital data will no longer be owned by individuals on their own initiative. Whenever there's a major change or accident in the world, in a country, in a government, in an idea, in a trend, access to it may suddenly be cut off. We will not be able to freely access the movies, books, and music that we have loved. I would be a have-not. That's what I'm afraid of. This is not greed. So he's kind of talking about how he kind of buys still physical stuff, and that was like a news story, like Hideo Kojima only buys physical stuff amid concerns over digital rights and things. And what I had to say to that was like, yeah, he's not wrong. Like, we talked about this on the show, though, where it's like, yeah, you're going to lose access to these things at some point earlier. A lot of them require you, even if you have a physical code, to like be online on a certain service anyway. So it doesn't matter. And you're all obviously anything you buy is only a license to that thing. So
okay, that's my rebuttal is Mr. Kojima, you make video games. You know that every video game that's probably been made in the past, I don't know, I would say 5 years, isn't even the full game on the disc, and then it gets patched in. If you just put that disc in, sometimes the game doesn't even work.
Yeah, like Jaren's right, but I'm saying he's not wrong about like kind of digital loss and like these certain instances and how things in the globe can affect your access and stuff. My point was that that does not trump the ease and accessibility of digital media. Like, he says that, and you're like, that's a good point, or like, okay. And then it's like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna still ask Netflix to send me discs, and I'm not gonna like go to the store and like buy a physical copy of all my games. It's like, yeah, thanks, that's cool. Maybe that sucks a little bit, but like, I'm still gonna buy digital stuff. Like, I don't know, you can buy physical if you want, but it's happening. Like, everything's going digital. It's going digital. There will still be some physical stuff. I'm sure the environmentalists don't like that you still want physical stuff. That's probably not great, but it's too easy. It's too convenient. So who cares? And unpopular, but Jared and I don't really care about Hideo Kojima. Very unpopular in the gaming industry, but we just don't care.
The last thing I'm going to say about this, Caleb, is that, isn't this man rumored to be working on a cloud-based technology game with Microsoft? If that comes to fruition, then this whole like stand against digital media is even dumber, because he's making a game that's only possible because of cloud technology.
That would be a kind of weird seeming hypocrisy. I would agree. But yeah, it was a comment Kojima made. He's pretty smart, I guess. And there you go. We don't care, because digital's too easy and everything's ethereal anyway. The
best part is we found 2 stories, the most 2 relevant stories to put it outside the box, and both of them we didn't care about.
No, we don't. I mean, it's some of the most relevant news outside of the Xbox news, centric news, and we don't really care.
There is one more relevant outside of the box and kind of on the Xbox related news topic that we will talk about in the X Factor later, if you guys want us to actually care about something.
Okay, well, there you go. Coming in from Jaren.
All right, moving on to the namesake, the X Block.
There
you go, Caleb. I love that you have to do it every week.
Yeah, I know you do.
Our boy, Phil Spencer, went over to Games Radar.
Sure did.
And he did an interview with our boy, Keith Stewart, and answered a bunch of Keith's questions and gave us kind of some insight on how Xbox thinks about the gaming industry, the inevitable streaming wars, and Game Pass in general. And I kind of want to know what Caleb kind of picked up from this article, so I'm going to let him start us off.
Yeah, it was a pretty insightful interview, and it kind of just generally talked about, like, the title of the Games Radar piece is Xbox Everywhere. Phil Spencer wants an Xbox app on as many devices as possible. And they kind of, like, Phil just kind of generally went over some things he said before and some in different ways about cross-platform play and breaking down barriers and more Xbox as a platform moving forward versus as a console, and kind of being more of a publisher and not really caring about where you play, just as long as you're playing their stuff. And he talked about a lot of that. The 2 main things that came from this article was, one thing I guess we'll talk about first was he talked about, let's see, I'll read this part of the article. Remember, this is from Keith Stewart. Okay, so Keith said, it's interesting that throughout our conversation, Spencer doesn't talk about competition with other consoles. And he said, but his focus is clearly on converting non-gamers into gamers rather than shifting the current user base from one machine to another. And he says, when I ask, for example, about a lack of epic self-contained single-player games on Xbox, he knows straight away what I'm referencing. Sony's recent success with titles, such as Spider-Man and The Last of Us 2, and he's not having any of it. And then Phil said, quote, our strategy is not to just go be like someone else. I get a push sometimes of where's your version of this or that game. I've been in this industry for a long time. I have a ton of respect for creators on all platforms, and I know many of them, but it's good if we're doing something different than what other platforms are doing. We're not in the business of just trying to create a green version of somebody else's blue or red colored platform. That's not the example of creativity that I want to see in the games industry. So that's kind of a PR answer a bit, but I get what he's saying. It seems like you don't want to say it's bad to like have epic self-contained single-player games. And he's like, yeah, Xbox doesn't have as many of those as Sony, but Xbox has more kinds of games, which is cool. And I'm kind of with that. Like, clearly Sony has the better quality and number of first-party single-player epic experiences that are third-person action, often in a dreary environment or setting. It's like, yeah, like, and they're all third-person. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but Xbox has different kinds of games, and it's as a service, it's also different from what Sony's offering, you know? And so, like, as opposed to single-player $70 experiences like Returnal versus a Game Pass subscription with multiple offerings, more kind of buttressed by third and second-party kind of things, and it's like, yeah, they're different. And that's cool, because then you get to have either both or one of them or none of them.
I'm just going to, like, move the goalpost just, like, 1 second. Just flip it to the other side, for example, just to kind of see how dumb this, question is that Phil gets asked constantly. Do we ever just go and ask Jim Ryan where all his Western-style RPGs are?
Yeah, no, we don't. Not really.
No, because everybody goes to PlayStation, and the people who are playing on PlayStation like single-player, third-person action games.
And JRPGs.
That's what Sony does, and JRPGs also. But that doesn't necessarily come straight from, like, Sony studios, aside from, like, Sony Japan and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they get the exclusive rights often.
Yeah, they get the exclusive rights. But, like, the majority of their worldwide consumers who play exclusives buy games like God of War, The Last of Us 2, and Spider-Man, which, at their bare bones, story-wise, are different games, but mechanics-wise are similar in their style.
Yeah.
But we don't go to them and say, yo, where are all your RPGs at? Xbox literally owns Bethesda, Obsidian, and who else that makes RPGs?
Well, those are the main big ones. Pretty sure there's another that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, like basically, and Bethesda Game Studios has like multiple branches working on different things as well, and Obsidian is working on multiple projects too. But yeah, like they own the two, I would argue, some of the biggest besides maybe CD Projekt Red, even though they've fallen from grace. They kind of own Obsidian and Bethesda Game Studios, which make the biggest Western RPGs at this point, I would argue.
Yeah, and PlayStation has Bloodborne.
Yeah, I mean, and there you go. So they're from FromSoft, and that's not, they don't even own FromSoft yet.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the only one they've had pretty much in the entire generation of exclusives from like the PS3 to now.
Yeah, essentially. And Microsoft, in particular Xbox, is going to start pumping out a ton of these RPGs. They're basically the RPG platform at this point, whereas PlayStation is the third-person action game platform at this point, especially if you prefer them to be dreary and dark. But
yeah, and aren't they partnered with Avalanche and IO Interactive to make 2 more RPGs?
Yes, they are. With IO, I don't know if it's confirmed with IO, but I'm pretty sure, like, we know from Jeff Grubb and others.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're just like, they're different things, is what Phil's saying. And it's like, obviously, we've talked about this if you go listen to our State of Xbox in 2021. The banger first parties are going to start coming, like, in rapid succession here, if you just wait a little bit longer. I know it's been a while, and Xbox has had games, but not to the same caliber or degree or number. But I mean, now they're coming. Like, they own Bethesda, they got their studios pumping out games, and they got partnerships and with Game Pass. Like, you're going to start seeing shit from the first party coming, and second party. And they're different. And then the second main thing from this article was them talking about Xbox being as a platform on other, will it come to like PlayStation? Will it come to Nintendo? And then Keith says, but what of these rumors that one of the platforms that Microsoft wants to put its Xbox app on is Nintendo Switch? And he says, quote, this is Phil, quote, evolution always takes time. There are different strengths that different companies have built through hard work, and some of these changes they may see as disruptive, and they'll have their own kind of business cadence and pace at which they want to make those changes. For us to succeed, I don't think another company has to get smaller. I want the industry to continue to grow and accelerate, blah, blah, blah. And he says, let's see. So Keith asks again about Switch, and then Phil says, it's the right question because people usually ask about releasing one individual game or another. And what I say is I want the full Xbox experience to be something that we deliver. We have no plans to bring it to any other kind of closed platforms right now, mainly because those closed platforms don't want something like Game Pass. There's a ton of open platforms out there for us to grow in, the web, PC, and mobile. So all of our focus, frankly, is on those platforms. And then later he says, Phil says, when we say we want everybody to be able to play on Xbox, we really mean if we can bring the full experience to a device that players want, we are totally open to those discussions, which is, Keith said that Phil said that with a smile. later, and they were talking. So what that means, and Jaren, I guess you jump on this if you want, but basically Phil's saying that Nintendo and Sony currently don't want Xbox Game Pass or Xbox games on their platform. They're doing things their own way, and they're happy with it. Phil would like them there if they wanted to let them, but since they don't, they're like, that's fine. They're probably going to evolve into wanting us there in the future, or not, but probably. And right now, they're, like he said, they're just focusing on bringing Xbox to the web, PC, and mobile, and making that like a actual valid experience that people can have. And they're doing it successfully at this point, I would argue. But yeah.
Yeah, well, if you think about it in the sense of Sony opening up to Xbox or Nintendo opening up to them, right now they get 30% of the cut off of every single one of those games that they sell that's in Game Pass.
Yeah, the way that I've heard it talked about on another podcast was if Game Pass or something like that was going to be on like PlayStation, it would obviously have to be a like catered version of Game Pass that it was made with only Xbox first and second party titles on there, so that it wouldn't cut into PlayStation's bottom line from sales from third party games. So otherwise, it doesn't even make sense, and it doesn't make sense at all for these other platforms. And I don't know if it's possible to make like a kind of catered, specific version of Game Pass like that, but that's pretty much the only way that it would come up on Nintendo or Xbox. Like, it wouldn't be the whole Game Pass experience. It would just be first and second parties. Otherwise, it doesn't make financial sense for them.
All Xbox has to do is make it work through the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch web browsers, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
All right, moving on to the next one. We're not going to talk about this too much. Indie Showcase Part 2, where Xbox partners with Twitch to show off a bunch of indie games. That was shown off earlier in the week, which is where all of this Xbox news is from. It's from this past week, not necessarily from the 2 weeks we were gone, because I felt like this week had more interesting news than those 2 weeks combined.
Yeah, nothing happened. And I'll just say that Jared and I, for some recording, like scheduling conflicts, we are recording this on August 12th, which is Thursday, right?
Yep.
We're if there's anything that happens crazy between now and Monday, just know that we missed that. That's why we missed it, but we'll be back.
Yep. And out of these 30 games that were announced, by all means, head over to your favorite YouTube channels, IGN, GameSpot, any of those places. You can find these trailers and watch them all, or you can head over to VGC and read this article that I am getting this from by Tom Ivan, and that has all the trailers implanted in it too. Now, all I'm going to talk about is the 5 games that are headed to Game Pass specifically that were announced at this event.
I was going to say there's 6. There's a Library of Ruina, right? Which is out now in Game Pass,
True.
Apparently. And then there's 5 others that are headed to Game Pass.
Yeah, that was my bad. So
no,
yeah, Library of Ruina out today, or today when this was
You can go into Game
released.
Pass now, and it'll be in there. We promise.
Yep. And 5 titles that are headed there. Origami 2, that's coming to Game Pass. Don't really have too much to say about that. Artful Escape, also coming to Game Pass. Evil Geniuses 2 from our boys at Rebellion, that's coming to Game Pass. Paparazzi, which I actually think kind of looks fun. It's basically Pokemon Go for puppies.
The last one is Stardew Valley, which is the big one, right? Stardew Valley headed to Game Pass. Get hype if you're into Stardew Valley. So let's talk about some of these games, Jaren, heading to Game Pass. I watched the trailers for all of them except I think Artful Escape, which I didn't see.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through. Are there any you want to talk about specifically before I talk about what I want to talk about as well? So
dude, I want to play Paparazzi.
Why do you want to play Paparazzi? I watched that trailer. It is a obvious like indie style kind of. If you look at the art style, it's hard to describe specifically what that looks like. But if you see it, you've known an indie game that's looked like that.
I think I said Pokemon Go, but I meant Pokemon Snap. That's what it reminds me of.
I was
it's Pokemon Snap, but with puppies.
There are dogs that walk like they're in South Park. And then it shows like a compilation of them walking around they're on a merry-go-round, they're walking in a field, they're on a boat. I think you could dress them up. And the whole point of the game is, it's like Pokemon Snap for dogs. You just get these dogs and in crazy situations. It's not on rails, I don't think. And you take pictures of dogs. And that's the game. That's what it is. Why are you excited about that, Jared?
Dude, it just sounds fun.
It's interesting. I don't know if it sounds
seems
fun.
It seems like a chill game to just play while you like listen to a podcast with its ambient background music.
Okay, I'll let you take your pictures of dogs and things like that. That's not a game for me, but I respect that that's something you're into. So if you're into Paparazzi, you can go look at that. I don't know who's developing it. Do you know?
Have you heard of the sequel coming out after?
Of Paparazzi 2?
Pedorazzi.
I don't like that. Another game that is coming out, Evil Genius 2. was already shown at it was shown at like, was it the Indie Showcase in March or was it E3? What was it?
I think it was shown at E3.
Yeah, so it's a what do you call it? A sim, right? You make different you basically make and maintain various evil layers. Isn't that like kind of the premise?
Yeah, that was what I got from it.
I never played the first Evil Genius. It looks like it's a kind of funny art style with like people. You'll know a game like this, but people that are like ha 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 ha, like they make noises like that, and you're like, okay, yeah, with these weird characters, and so you basically you craft and maintain these various Evil Genius like structures. If that sounds cool to you, it seems whimsical and comedic, then there you go. Artful Escape, don't know about, didn't watch it. Maybe it's good, maybe it's great. The one I was most interested in was Origami 2. Did you see this game?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's like a stealth. I mean, it's like obviously an indie game from the look of it. Like you can just tell with the art style that a lot of indie games use, maybe because it's easier. I don't know. But it's like a ninja game, and it's like a stealth game. It's like a stealth action ninja game, and it looks kind of cool. Yeah, like it's. I don't really know if it is good, I'd have to see like some more in-depth gameplay. But yeah, it's about like this ninja. I don't know the first story of it, but he's like, I think he's a ninja. It's supposed to be like, it looks like Japan and that kind of feudal, kind of clans-based, I don't know, setting. And this dude just goes around in a mask and he like stealth kills all these guards and people. And then at some points he's like doing actual action combat, like fighting. And it looks pretty interesting. Origami 2, if you haven't seen that, I would take a look at the trailer. It's like a minute and a half or something. That's the one I'm interested in. Jaren, more paparazzi. So pick your team paparazzi or team Origami 2 and go watch one. And then all the rest of you can go play Stardew Valley. I don't care.
Yeah, Stardew Valley, solid addition.
Yeah, my girlfriend likes Stardew Valley a lot, but she plays it, I think, more on the Switch. So, alas.
Yep. So there you go. Those were the Xbox-focused games that were announced at the Xbox Showcase.
Yeah, there were like 15 or 25 more if you want to go look at the indies, but those are the ones coming to Game Pass. So, like, why play the others if you have a Game Pass subscription?
And now we're going to briefly talk about this one quick. Xbox announced some new features and some new console cross PC features. One of the new features that's being demoed right now in the Insider program is night mode, which it will dim your screen, controller LED, and even the console power button.
Yeah, I wrote an article about this. Yeah, there's a slider for like your Xbox controller power button. You've always been able to dim that for your Elite controller or your Elite Series 2.
Yeah.
But now you can dim it on normal controllers outside of the accessories app, and as well as your power button on your console. You can dim those. And yeah, you can schedule night mode to like come on at certain times of day. And it can like schedule like your theme. There's like they introduced a dark theme or a light theme in 2017. And then they made the default one darker or something. You can schedule those for different times a day. And then a blue light filter is a big one. They're adding an inbuilt like a built-in blue light filter slider that you can use for later at night. So there you go.
Yeah, which that's all cool for the controller and the console. I don't know why you would want to use that for your TV because it disables HDR when the console goes into dark mode. Yeah,
I think you can choose for dark mode. There's a toggle you can choose for it to disable HDR or not.
Okay.
Depending on if you want.
I guess I just like my games as bright and nice as they look if I'm playing on my TV. But yeah, I get the controller and stuff because sometimes the bright ass light like shines in your face while you're sitting in the dark.
That's what everyone's excited about is the dimming of the console and the controller light. That's the big one. Everybody's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And the PC console features that we talked about before, that's essentially now that Windows 10 PC owners have access to the Xbox Insiders program, Microsoft is introducing Xbox Cloud Gaming. So if you want to play games from your console onto your PC for some reason, I guess maybe because like you have a laptop or something, maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
That'd be so you don't have a computer that's powerful enough to play them, but maybe you can't play on your Xbox. I don't know, but this is for you.
Well, yeah, what it was before you could only access xCloud on PC through the browser. But if you're in the Insider program now, Insiders are testing the dark mode, the alpha skip head people right now and all that.
Yep.
And the Insiders are also testing xCloud via the Xbox app on PC as opposed to the browser. So not really kind of new, I guess, but same feature, different location.
Yeah, same feature, different location. If that is up your alley, by all means, load up your PC and check it out. Now, hopping over to something I mentioned earlier, setting expectations for the Xbox Gamescom event, which will take place on August 24th. And Microsoft has said, hey, this focuses on announced upcoming games, and there won't be any like surprise announcements. That doesn't mean we're not going to see a bunch of cool stuff from these games that have already been announced, I'm betting on a Halo, release date. Cross your fingers. Probably going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good call with the event. So we already knew that Xbox was going to be a Gamescom with something, but they announced a live stream scheduled for Tuesday, August 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. BST, which isn't a real time zone, but that's okay. And so, yeah, you can watch the live stream then. And yeah, they said they're going to only talk about, like Jaren said, things that they've already mentioned, like first-party games and stuff that they've already shown. So what you'd expect is exactly a deeper dive into Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, we assume. People are speculating in the Halo community, Jaren, because you know how I'm in that shit, I know all about the Halo, you know what I'm saying? People are speculating we're going to see more about Forge mode in Halo Infinite. I don't know if that's true, if that's what's going to happen, but that's the theory, is that we've seen the multiplayer, we've seen campaign, now they're going to do a deeper dive into Forge.
Yeah, that would be a good place to do it.
Yeah, so that's what people think. We'll see if that happens, but expect just kind of more in-depth stuff. I assume, Jaren, are we going to watch that, maybe? Probably?
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely watch that. And just a thing to tack onto this, it's later in the story, but they mix well right now. 2020 games lineup has basically been cemented now that Forza's been rated and Halo's been rated in Australia. It basically means that they are pretty much 99.9% coming out this year.
Yeah, and Phil has said before, they mentioned in the VGC article too, I think, but Phil was asked at one point on the Drop Frames podcast if Halo Infinite was coming out this year. I think it was like a month or two ago. And Phil at that time said, quote, "Yeah, absolutely," end quote. So, so based on that statement, that doesn't seem like shady. So it's like, yeah, they're both, well, they're obviously, Forza's coming out this year. Halo seems confirmed, and we'll get a release date probably August 24th, maybe a little later.
That being said, though, to temper your expectations for the Xbox conference, you might not have to temper your expectations for Gamescom 2021 as a whole, because supposedly there's going to be a 2-hour showcase to open the show.
Jesus. Oh, yeah, with Jeff Keighley, right? Isn't he hosting it?
Yeah, with Jeff Keighley. That's on at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, and 8 p.m. CET, and that's on Wednesday, August 25th, which is funny that opens the show after Xbox already does their thing.
Dude, Jeff Keighley's running a racket over there, man. Like, not only was he like at G4 and like all, I think G4, he was like on a Spike TV and all that shit, and he's like, yeah, I got the Game Awards, started that shit, and now my Game Awards are like the Game Awards, essentially, that aren't like the DICE Awards or anything, or the BAFTAs, but they're like the real general public Game Awards, like the Oscars or something. And he's like, You got that? And then he's like, yeah, and I'm hosting like, the games, the kickoff live event for E3 and all that with, and getting the Elden Ring, drop.
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. And I'm hosting the Gamescom showcase thing. It's like, who do you talk to? Who do you know, Jeff?
It's true. And one thing about Xbox, they do say they will only talk about games that have already been announced. Now, this is a shot in the dark, but QuakeCon happens before this event, so if they announce the new Quake at QuakeCon, they would be able to talk about it at Gamescom.
Ooh, good call, Jaren. Good call. We're going to see about the new Quake. We'll see if that's a real thing. Good call.
All right, and now we're moving into a quick get-together of Game Pass news. Art of Rally joins Xbox Game Pass today. That is that stylized racing rally game. It actually looks pretty cool. I'd give it a shot. Also added yesterday, Boyfriend Dungeon, which is romance, or it's described as romance your swords, capture the hearts of weapons to level them up in this shack and slash dungeon crawling adventure.
My girlfriend puts me in the Boyfriend Dungeon sometimes.
Mine too.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to give this game a shot, I really hope that we pull this on Game Pass or Game Pass or Play, because this looks like a fucking experience.
Yeah, it'd be a fun one. And yeah, I mean, I guess we should mention it's been 2 weeks just in passing. Remember, we got Steep this month, for those of you who didn't listen to the news from the future. So that's our Game Pass or Gameplay game this month is Steep, and we'll talk about that at the end of August.
And the last few things added to Game Pass, we got a bunch of EA Codemasters games now that EA owns Codemasters, and the ones included are F1, Dirt, and Grid, and the games that are included from that bunch of games are F1 2020, F1 2019, Dirt 5, Dirt 4, Dirt Rally 2.0, and Grid
Jesus.
Are now all in Game Pass.
Just tons of Dirt, man. And I saw that Dirt 5 went to Game Pass. I was like, oh, it's an EA access? Cool. We got it now. Dirt 5, we in there. And then
yeah, that one's been in for a while, but yeah, Dirt 4 and Dirt Rally were new.
Oh, I didn't know Dirt. Well, I know Dirt 5 was in Game Pass, obviously, because we played it. But I mean, it went into EA access.
Oh yeah,
or
you're
EA
right.
Play.
Yeah, it went into EA Play.
So now it's not leaving. It's not like on a 6-month window or something. It's like, oh no, it's there to stay because games don't leave EA Play.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then the Library of Ruina, we already said from the Indie Showcase, should be in Game Pass already, right?
Yep. That'll also be in Game Pass now. So there you go. Bunch of new games for you in Game Pass if you were running out of games to play, which I don't know how you would be with Game Pass.
Too much dirt.
Too much dirt, not enough water. Now, moving on to the X Factor discussion. And here, Caleb, I just want to talk about what the hell's a remake, what the hell's a remaster.
Okay, so I kind of have, off of this discussion, do you want to go over the news that's been happening and like what's going on that kind of led to this, or do you want to talk about that later?
So GTA, Take-Two, essentially their GTA's parent company, Take-Two, they did an earnings call where they said that they had a bunch of remasters in the works, 3 specifically, not including GTA 5 and Kerbal Space Program. And they had 3 unannounced remasters. And everybody was like starting to jump around and say what those are because they said, hey, we're not going to do half-assed remasters. We're going to do full remasters. And I was like, well, isn't a full remaster a remake? But I don't know.
Are you just shitting on people that do it poorly?
Yeah, or are you just dunking?
They're like, we don't do ports. They said, we don't do ports. We do like real remasters. And you're like, okay, that can be like, are you dunking or do you mean you do remakes and you just call them remasters? Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
So then today it was leaked/announced. I don't know. Kotaku has the scoop. Leaked. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas remasters are coming for Switch, PS5, and the Xbox Series consoles, and I assume Xbox One since it's coming to Switch.
Yeah, you would think so. So yeah, I mean it's like leaked because I mean it's being reported. Clearly, it's not confirmed by Take-Two or anything. But the Kotaku has sources, and they say they have multiple sources that corroborate the other sources. So it's like corroborated by multiple people separately. And I think Zach Zweisen wrote the article over at Kotaku. Now, Jared and I don't usually like Kotaku, but this is some actual real reporting. So like, shout out to Kotaku for getting the scoop on this with the leaks and everything like that. So yeah, they say that remasters of San Andreas, Vice City, and GTA 3 are all being made and are supposed to. They talk about how they had plans to release them, like, I don't know, it was like separately, or no, in the beginning, like, of this year, and then the pandemic messed things up. Then they were going to release them, like, maybe with GTA 5, when that came out. As like, no, initially they were going to release them as a thank you for buying the GTA 5, whatever you call it, the port to PS5 and Series X, that version, right? They were going to be like, here's a thank you. Then apparently, according to Kotaku, or they were going to just release them in the beginning of this year. And then the pandemic messed things up. And now they're looking toward, they say, I think in this article, an October, really, around late October or early November for PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PC, Stadia, and mobile phones. And then reportedly the PC and mobile phone, ports, are the ones are supposed to be like maybe delayed till later.
Yeah.
So yes, these games are being remastered by Take-Two. It was reported earlier this year, the head of Take-Two was asked about GTA remasters, and he was just like, I'm not going to say anything about that, and if it happens, it happens. And then more in the story, they're reportedly being developed by Rockstar Dundee, I think, which is a Scottish studio. And so they've worked on Crackdown 2, Crackdown 3, and the Master Chief Collection, and they're new. And so yeah, they're working on these remasters that are allegedly happening, but seemingly confirmed or corroborated at least. And then on top of this news, Kotaku reports, for fans who are more interested in other classic Rockstar games getting remastered and released, I guess they're not saying this, but such as like a Bully, even again. And then in this case, what they're talking about, quote, sources tell me that Rockstar has plans to develop new ports of games like Red Dead Redemption, the original one. But the future of these remastered games depends on how well these initial re-releases sell. So that is all of the crazy, I guess, news dropping as of now from Kotaku. And that leads to our X Factor discussion about what is a remaster? What is a remake? Are there differences that are very consequential and identifiable, I guess? So, Jaren, go ahead. What do you have to say about all this?
So these remasters will use Unreal Engine and mix old and new visuals, and I have seen that some of the gameplay mechanics will be touched up to like bring to modern...
That's Kotaku reporting this, right?
I guess standards. Yeah. So isn't that a remake-ish? Is a remake only if you fully remake a game from ground up to release?
So here's the thing. They said they're not interested in simple ports, right? And they said that, like what you said, upgraded visuals, improved technology, performance enhancements, and they said it's on the Unreal Engine, right? And they said that what it looks like, they said that, I think the person who wrote this, I can't exactly find it somewhere in the article, but I think they said something like, it looks like they're trying to keep the same vision, like a similar vision of what the games look like, the PS2 games and all that. But people have said that they look like the games running with like the best mods, So if you've played these games with like the best mods on PC and all these kinds of things, it looks like that. So what it sounds like to me, Jaron, let's go over this, okay? Let's go over this. Here's what you got. All right, remasters versus remakes. It's, in my opinion, that it's a remake when it's on a new engine, all right? So you have remasters that are like, you have ports that are called remasters. Maybe they allow you to upscale from 720p to 1080, right? And those are ports from whatever, and they're a port of the game, and nothing else is really touched up. And maybe there's like some minor improvement. Then you got a remaster, which is like, it's a port, but it's done correctly where it mitigates the bugs, and it's not like a port from PC. It's like an original game port or something. And the textures are maybe somewhat improved a bit, or the lighting, maybe there's some audio things going on there. Essentially, the game stays the same, but everything that needs it to function on the modern hardware and make it, I guess, look normal is done. Then you have a remaster that I guess is like the Master, or not the Master Chief Collection, but maybe, I guess, the Master Chief Collection, I guess, and, what was it? The Mass Effect Legendary? Yes, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, where you have, the games are like totally, like, you have new textures. You go in and, like, you add way new textures and lighting, and you change things, and you take a detailed approach to it, and it's more than just a remaster. You're actually altering the game a bit, changing some things to make it, I don't know, the best experience it can, and maybe even adding a few more features that weren't in the original game or something like that. And yeah, I don't know. It's that can range from a few different areas, but it's just way more than a normal remaster. Then I guess from my understanding, regardless of whether you change anything else or not, really, a remake is the game on a new engine, right? And then that can range from being shitty to being Demon Souls or being Mafia 1, right? That was on a new engine when that game was remade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I draw the line. I think I'm ignorant, about technology in a lot of ways, but it sounds like if you put the game on a new engine, then it's a remake. And if you keep it on the same engine, it's a remaster. And that has a lot of gray area.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of gray area, because there's definitely been games that have been used on different engines, but then have still had like relatively the same visuals. Like when they ported Minecraft from Java to Windows.
See, that's a weird one, though, because they're not, like, I guess it's also intent, because if you're not trying to remake the game, but if you're just continuing the game, but you're changing the engine. So you're not remaking, if it's the same game, but you're like, we're not remaking it, we're just updating the engine. And we still consider it the same game. Technically, and they even mentioned this, so like technically it's not, because there are different versions of Minecraft now. You have Minecraft on Java, and you have Minecraft on Bedrock, and those are different, kind of, but I guess it's not a remake, because it's not the intent, so maybe you include intent in there. Yeah, and in these cases, it's just like, they're unclear. So they say they're remastering the games. I guess you and I assume they're remastering them in the way that Mass Effect Legendary Edition remastered Mass Effect 1 and things, right?
Yeah, that's got to be the only way, because they have, like, them saying, we don't do ports, but they have ports of these games on PlayStation already. So obviously that's why they wouldn't port them again, because they just have the games that they already sold. So they're actually doing some kind of change.
Yeah, as long as they don't advertise them as a port or as a remaster. Like, they can port games to new studios, but they're not going to say that's a remaster, right? They're just saying, like, we ported it.
Yeah, they did just port them before. So yeah, they definitely have to do some kind of work to these. Otherwise, there's no reason for people to buy them.
Yeah, it seems like that's what, I don't even know, L.A. Noire, was that game remastered?
Well, they put it out on next-gen consoles with, like, I think just higher graphics.
That's kind of a remaster in my mind, even if you just improve the graphics. It's just the lowest level, right? Even though it's kind of a port, too. So do you have a port, and then you have a remaster, and then you have a remake?
Well, like, Hellblade just added ray tracing and all these new things to the game. That's just an update.
Now we're getting shady.
So it's like, if you move a game from one console to another, that would just be an update technically. Like Ghost of Tsushima got a director's edition. So is a director's edition different than a port, which is different than a remaster?
Like they say we're remastering GTA 5 and I'm like, aren't you just porting it? Is it a port? Or are you just porting it to PS5? Is it a remaster? You're changing stuff. I don't know.
I like this X Factor discussion because we started confused and we're ending confused.
Well, maybe it's like this what the US Supreme Court said about porn, which is you know it when you see it.
There you go. Remakes versus remasters. You know it when you see it. And now we're moving on to the FAF. Now in the FAF, we bring you all the news that you see scrolling by your Twitter feed and you go, I don't think I should click on that. That seems like clickbait.
Yeah.
But then you might do it anyway. We're here to stop you from doing it anyway. We're bringing you all the news you don't need to know, but it's fun if you do.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes you feel bad afterward.
So, Caleb, take us away.
Okay, the first one Jerem wrote in here is taking, quote, Nazi, end quote, zombies to a whole new level.
WB Games explains why zombies sound racist in Back 4 Blood.
Oh, I watched these videos, dude. Because I had to see it. They got me. Jared, why don't you tell me this story? What happened here? Tell the people.
So there was a streamer.
Yeah, a couple of them.
He was streaming. And I've seen one guy's version, and that's where this article is based off of. And he's out here streaming his games at HOMBKE. He posted a clip of the zombies yelling the N-word at him.
Yeah.
And WB Games has said that this is just an unfortunate soundbite, and all it means is it's actually two pieces of dialogue playing over top of each other.
Yeah, what happened was they had the beta for Back 4 Blood, right? And this dude was streaming, right? And you know how zombies go like, and like, and all that? Well, one of them did that. But and you would say like, it probably doesn't sound that. No, it sounded exactly like a zombie saying the N-word, not with the hard R. Like it ends with the gah, you know, but the first part. So if you put it all together, that zombie straight up, that soundbite is a zombie saying the N-word without a hard R. Now, I don't think it's intentional at all, but there are multiple streamers and these funny videos where like they'd be like, killing these people, and they'd be like, okay, here we go. And then they'd go like, and they'd say it, and they'd go like, the fuck did that zombie just say to me? What did it call me? And you're like, I don't know, man, but I think he called you that.
If you weren't interested in Back 4 Blood and now you're interested in it, I have some questions for you.
Yeah, please go away.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
Do you want to play as Iron Man? Well, fuck you.
The Marvel XCOM game will reportedly let players make their own superheroes. So what's the point of it being a Marvel game then?
Jaren, shut the fuck up, idiot. That's it. That's all. That's what they have to say to you.
It's like XCOM where you make all your own characters and then I guess you fight Marvel villains?
I was going to say, I guess that's what it is. Like, it's just one of those things where they're like, they want you to make your own character and experience the Marvel universe as your created character. And you're like, that's fine. That's fine. It seems like people would less so want that. It seems like in this kind of particular genre category, that's not really what it's about, you know? But yeah. Okay.
All right. Well,
see if it works out.
I like that every Marvel game manages to get in the FAF.
Every single one. What do you think? What do you think people, you think someone's playing Marvel's Avengers right now? You think anybody?
Hopefully not.
No, I doubt it.
Hit me with the last one, Caleb.
Gaming is the next COVID. Agreed.
The Telegraph criticized for claiming gaming could be the next global pandemic. So the UK's Telegraph newspaper essentially said that spiritual opium could gaming addiction ruin a generation. That was the name of their article.
So where they're getting that from, right? The spiritual opium thing, wasn't that there was a recent I think it was a news story. I don't know if you saw it. The Chinese government, right?
Yep.
And that's their.
That
official,
is exactly where they're getting it from. The basis for the article is partly a statement made by the Chinese state media. So if you're a newspaper and your article is based off something that the Chinese state media told you, you can immediately throw it in the trash.
I agree. Dude, this was like even, I don't know, this is in the FAF. This was kind of a bigger story, man. Like the official, like the Chinese government state-sponsored newspaper said, mentioned that gaming was the spiritual opium or something.
Yeah.
And the Tencent stock, which is a company, Chinese, it like dropped like 10% or something. And you're
like that.
You own that though, but they just don't care.
I like that Tencent isn't going to destroy the games industry because China's going to destroy them first somehow.
Well, even, they own them though. Tencent is an extension of the Chinese government.
It's a wild world we live in, Caleb. It's a wild world.
Yeah, it is, man. Agreed.
All right, Caleb, let's have some quick quips up in here. Now a $2 million copy of Mario Bros. Is the most expensive game ever sold. Remember when it was a 1 million one? Now it's a 2 million.
Well, I think it broke the record of something that was set like 2 days ago or like a week before that. They were like, have to wait
we
2
talked
days.
about it.
Yeah, and well, I don't know if that was the same one. It may have been broken again, like a different one. I don't know. But yeah, this game, and dude, I think this one was a crazy story, actually. I mean, we say quick quips, but I actually want to talk about those. So this game was owned. It was like a sealed copy of Mario Brothers, right? And it was owned by like a group of people. Like they each had a stake in it or share. And at one point, even they had it was like they were offering to sell it or something at $700,000. But the group, Jaren, has to vote on whether they sell it or not. And so they were like, nah, no selling. And then they had this opportunity come up. I don't know if it was a private auction, some nonsense. And they're like, all right, guys, $2 million. And I think it was like 3/4 or 80% of them were like, sure. But like the other guys were like, no, hold. Don't sell. And so they each get a cut of the sale of this Mario game. It's like a co-owned thing. So funny.
All right, next up, also Nintendo focused, Nintendo World suspends rides as Goombas break free and fall onto track.
Becoming Mario. Trying to
so
jump
you
on
really
people's
wanted
heads.
to go to Super Mario World. Here come the Goombas. They're coming for you.
Yeah, dude, you get crushed by a Goomba at Mario World, whatever you call it. You just go, wah!
And the last in the FAF, which I always traditionally take, the Life is Strange Remastered Collection has been delayed to 2022. Did you want to play the Life is Strange Remastered Collection before the new game came out?
Yep.
Well, you couldn't have done that anyway because they were going to release it a month later, but now it's been pushed even further, making it even more pointless.
Yeah, I thought about that when I saw this, that they were delaying the Remastered Collection. I'm like, so you're releasing the Remastered Collection, not only were you already going to do it like 29 days after the new game came out, you're now pushing it to next year. That's the point. God.
And that is the end of the X Block Podcast, episode 22. If you would like to listen to this some other place than you're listening to it right now, you can head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anything else that Anchor is supporting. You can head over to YouTube and check us out there if you're more of a YouTube podcast person, the X Block Podcast. If you want to just follow our social media profiles, you can head over to Twitter at X Block Podcast. You can head over to Instagram at X Block Podcast. And Caleb, why don't you tell the people about our Patreon?
Why don't I, dude? If Shigeru Miyamoto didn't crush your head in a Nintendo World, you can head over to patreon.com/xblockpodcast and throw us a few dollars to help make the show better. I spent like 30 minutes before this episode fucking with my mic to try to fix the audio. It may still be weird if you're hearing it this episode and it sounds weird. And if it is, maybe throw us some dollars so I can get a new mic over on patreon.com/xblockpodcast.
Yeah, or we can pay for actual recording software and not use the free stuff.
Yeah, right now we on that free OBS shit, you know what I'm saying? But we would like something better, which you can support if you like this show. Please do so.
And that is all. Thanks for listening. X Block out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.
I want Game Pass someday, but not today.